Today's video is going to be a little different. We're going to take a pawn shop guitar and try to turn it into a unique, good playing, and great sounding guitar. But first, a little backstory. I bought this guitar at a pawn shop back in 2007. It's a Squire Strat and used to be candy red. It was meant to be a project guitar from the start. I sanded it down, painted it, and swapped out the pickguard, and it turned out as you see it now. There's a decent amount of front bow in the neck, and the action is a mile high. And the paint job is meh. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. A few months later, I got accepted to a school in Arizona. A great friend and mentor bought it from me, probably out of pity because I was then a broke college student without even getting to college yet. Flash forward to 2020, I'm back home 13 years later, and he comes in with an old case and pulls this thing out. Luckily, he disregarded my plea to bury it and never speak of it again, and instead commissioned me to rework this thing into something else. Let me just interject and say that I really don't like refinishing guitars. It's a ton of labor with a slightly tainted reward. With that being said, though, I do these projects for friends from time to time because I really appreciate them, and it makes it a labor of love. So let's jump into it. I'm going to alter the shape of the body. Nothing severe or extreme, but I want to square off the edges and change them to a 45-degree chamfer. I'm also going to reshape the horns and change the profile of the forearm curve. I traced around the pickguard so I can see where my tolerance is going to be. I'm also going to make a custom pickguard, and I want to be sure I leave enough room between the edge and the cavity. We're going to be making a custom set of pickups for this as well, and we will be changing out all the hardware to black and ditching the neck plate to reshape the heel. About halfway through this, I decided not to keep the neck, not because anything was wrong with it, but because once I got the paint job done, the maple fretboard just didn't fit the guitar aesthetically. I had a maple neck with a Brazilian cherry fretboard that I made a few years ago that ended up being perfect for this guitar. So that's what you'll see on it at the end of the video. I need to bring the circumference of the guitar in to get rid of the round over. This will allow me to get the router to cut 45 properly. One thing you'll notice as I'm sanding here is that this body is constructed out of plies, very similar to how skateboards are made. For anyone wanting to build your own guitar, don't get discouraged if you can't find 8-quarter lumber for blanks. You can build a guitar out of almost anything. After sanding out the round over, I'm going to reshape the horns. Nothing crazy. I'm not trying to reinvent the guitar shape. I just want it to be subtle so that it's familiar and comfortable, but still adds a little bit of unique flavor to the guitar. So a little bit of a time skip here. I've got the body and heel reshaped, the horns are done, 45 in, and the forearm curve is finished. I'm filling in all the holes with oak dowels. None of the holes for the new bridge will line up, and I'll have new hole points for the custom pickguard as well. I sanded the body flat but not back to bare wood. This guitar is going to have multiple layers of primer and paint, and we want the natural wear to be accelerated and show those layers. We will be using ferrules to secure the neck. I set the depth stop on my drill press and use a 15mm brad point bit to drill the holes. I drilled a small pilot hole first to help guide the bigger bit. After that, I'll drill out the center for the neck screws. Now the fun part. At this point, I've put multiple colors of primer on, ending in the white. I'm spraying on a glitter paint called Diamond Dust, and this is to give it a sort of pearl look. The next coat is a blue sapphire glitter paint. We are going to pull some of it back while it's still wet to reveal the white pearl underneath. I'm not going for an even coat. The end result is supposed to look chaotic and random, which you'll see here in a few seconds. I'm putting cling wrap on while it's still wet. This will make the paint stick to it wherever it's touching and reveal the layer underneath when we pull it off. The last coat is metallic dark metal, and I've recruited my wife to do the cling wrap because she's way better at it than I am. The trick is to lay it on flat. It will naturally crumple itself up in that process. I tended to wad it up first and then put it on. You also have to get it on quick. If the paint starts to dry, it won't stick to the cling wrap. Once it's on, you wait a few seconds for it to get a little tacky and then slowly pull it away. The pickups are Alnico 5 poles. I used 42 gauge wire at approximately 7,800 winds. The neck and middle pickups are 5.2 and 5.3K, and the bridge is 5.6K. They are wax potted, and I did not reverse wind them simply because I didn't prefer it in this build. The pick guard is a flame maple veneer on a Baltic birch backboard. I started with the outline of the original pick guard so that the neck pocket, pickup holes, and bridge area will match up. I'll then shape the rest of it to fit the guitar. I'm keeping the switch in the same spot, but I want to change the volume and tone controls. I'm not a big fan of having the volume pot right next to the strings, so I'll be removing one tone and move the controls down. So I'm not gonna lie, I had a ton of fun doing this, oddly enough, and I loved the way that it turned out. But more importantly, does the final owner like it? And thankfully he does. Every guitar I build is different, and this was no exception. It was the first set of single coils I've ever wound, and not only was I excited that they worked, but they sounded killer too. So thanks for making it this far, and hopefully this will spark a little inspiration for anyone looking to build or refinish their own guitar. Stick around and see how it sounds.